Welcome to the lecture series on design thinking. In the previous lecture, we talked about the introduction, what is design thinking, and what are the phases of design thinking, and what is the history, and how do we start. So in this lecture, we'll talk about the starting point, where to start with, and what is the mindset that the design thinker has to have, the entire team has to have. What should be the composition of the team, how the composition of the team is going to affect the entire process, and what are the mechanisms that we need to follow, and methodologies that we need to adopt, and what are the rules that we need to set. So to start with, we'll talk about the mindset. Here I'm going to present some of the qualities of design thinkers that many practitioners have identified. To start with, empathy. I'm again repeatedly talking about empathy because the entire process of design thinking starts with people and people only, revolves around people only. So we need to start with empathy, the ability to understand others. It's a basic quality of any design thinker. So if you're able to understand others, their feelings, their experiences, their gains and their pains and circumstances, we should place ourselves in their shoes. That's the only way we can understand them. So once we think from their perspective, then we can analyze their situation. So we need to understand, we need to meet different people who are facing similar problems, and we need to go for different places where such problems arise, and we need to understand different scenarios where this problem is arising. So all these things comes into empathy, and empathy is the first and foremost quality of the mindset of any design thinker. Optimism is the next quality that any design thinker has to have, because it is the driving force which guides us, which drives us at every stage. Again, this optimism has to be shown at every stage of design thinking process, because no problem exists in the world without a solution. It is we need to understand the process. We need to understand the solution, where it lies, how it lies. We need to explore it and get the solution from out the best of it. Sometimes whatever we think may not be a solution. Actual solution may lie somewhere else. We need to be able to understand that. So optimism is the driving force, and everyone has to have that optimism at every stage of design thinking. And constraints, actually this pessimistic thinking will start with the constraints. But constraints are sometimes useful because they may offer some more solutions for us. So we should look at obstacles and problems in such a way that maybe they are going to offer a solution. The ability to iterate is the third best quality that every design thinker has to have. Why? Because even if we think that you got a solution, you arrive at a solution, it may or may not be a better one. Who knows, a better solution may exist, because unless we collect the feedback at every stage, and unless we test whether it is in line with the previous steps that we have undertaken, we are not sure. So we need to iterate and redefine the problem, sometimes if required, and then retest it. So this process has to be continuously done until everyone is convinced that it is an optimal solution. So the most importantly, every member in the team getting satisfaction among the team is not sufficient. The end user has to feel the satisfaction with the solution. That's primary. So that feedback is important until you arrive at that. So we need to iterate and iterate. Creative confidence is another most important quality for design thinking. The ability to think big, and once we think big, we may come across new ideas and bigger ideas, but it may take time to build them into realities. But we should have the confidence to do that. Again, mere having the confidence may not be enough. We should convert them into actions. Again, when we can do that, when we can feel that we're confident enough to innovate, or when we can feel that we're confident enough to create something new, can only be showcased unless we do something hands-on. So don't worry, even if you feel that low on creative confidence, don't worry, just start doing something. If you keep on doing, you may acquire the ability to do or acquire the confidence to do creative works. So, one of the most important qualities is creative confidence. Once the team has that creative confidence, they can hang on and wait for the correct opportunities and correct ideas to do the right things. The next ability is ability of creating or making something hands-on. We may have big ideas and ideas may be good enough, but can we put them into practice is most important quality. Keep on saying something and keep on describing something hours together is not sufficient. In a nutshell, can we put things on paper in a workable format? Or can you prepare even a small miniature model to showcase your idea? So that idea and that ability to create something which is workable, at least to demonstrate that it is workable, that ability is also very important. Unless we don't have this, the ideas will remain as ideas. It will not, they will not be converted into the realities. So if you want to showcase your ability of good ideas, you should be able to show it in the form of models. The others will get convinced only if they see the model. Otherwise, they'll just on paper, only ideas will be left out. So another important quality is ability to convert the ideas into workable models. And while creating such models, we may come across so many realistic parameters and constraints that we may not be able to see on paper. So that in that aspect also, making is another important quality which shows us the ground realities. The most important quality is embracing the ambiguity. If everything is clear, if everything is known, then there is no point of innovation. It's only a process and we need to follow the process, that's it. But if nothing is known and not knowing itself may be at the starting point of the innovation. In the process of knowing, in the process of exploring what is going to happen and how it is going to unfold is itself is a big exercise, and embracing that ambiguity is one of the most important qualities of design thinking. From that ambiguity, through the process, we may arrive at one of the solutions. So from unknown to known, from ambiguity to the process, we may come out with certain ideas. And we need to explore all possibilities. From that ambiguity, we'll have the opportunity to diverge into all possible actions that we can take. And from those actions, one of the output may be a better one. So that ability to hold with that ambiguity is another important quality. The quality of learning from failure is not a new one. We know this from right from our childhood, and it has to be there for every individual. Leave alone design thinking, even for personality development, it's one of the most important qualities. Because nobody in the world is perfect, and no experiment, very in the beginning, the first experiment itself is going to be successful, maybe, may not be. So failure is a stepping stone. It's a famous saying that failure is a stepping stone for success. So even that applies to the design thinking process very well, and we should be able to concentrate on each failure, and we should be able to learn from each failure what it is going to teach us. So every failure is going to teach us and give a new opportunity for us to innovate much more vigorously. So don't worry about failure and keep on trying until we achieve the success. So once we observe the major qualities of design thinkers, again, they are the important qualities that most of the practitioners observe, and they are not exhaustive. So we should have some more qualities like perseverance and patience, and all these things comes into picture, of course. If we assume that these qualities do exist, then the next important thing is a team. What is the composition of the team is going to dictate the way they function. Usually, for design thinking, a combination of people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, is much more important. Why? Because the way we look at the problem is different from our backgrounds or from our perspectives. For any problem, the way the engineer look at the problem is different. The way a sociologist, anthropologist look at the problem may be different, and a financial analyst may look at it in a different perspective. So, much more diversity is important when it comes to design thinking, because they will offer a different and variety of solutions. So, as far as possible, try to have a different mix of expertise from various fields. If that sort of teams will thrive in a much better way. Again, don't worry if you don't have that ability in your team. You can co-opt from time to time. You can co-opt from outside sources to have a look and feel of that particular aspect. But the composition is very, very important. The team may consist of makers, doers, and storytellers. The innovation may be excellent, very good solution may be obtained, but you are unable to explain yourself, unable to narrate yourself, then it is not visible to the world. So you should have storytellers as well in your team. That's going to showcase your talents to the outside world. And another important thing is, once you have the team, you should have roles. You should have a distinction among yourself in the form of roles. There may not be strict distinctions, but more or less a workable roles should be there. Like something like, of course, naturally team lead will be there, but a scheduler, a connector, a hurdler. Hurdler doesn't mean that he's going to create the hurdles, but he is one who clears the hurdles. If at all anything gets struck, one should be able to clear it. So that kind of role has to be adopted by someone in the team. And the connectors, who is going to connect all the components and bits and pieces and locations, people, all these things. And scheduling is one of the main tasks. Which, when, where, how is to be scheduled aptly. Interpreter should be able to interpret the problems and solutions and people and material, whatever. Interpretation is one of the major aspects. Similarly, documenter, who can document it perfectly right from the beginning to the end, is another role, important role. And finally, the storyteller. The entire process should be converted into a good story ultimately. Once the team is set, the next thing to set is the rules. The set of rules that guides the team is also important. In the beginning itself, they should have an understanding and camaraderie among the team, and they should have predefined, at least to an extent, predefined protocols and procedures, how they are going to meet, when they are going to meet, where they are going to meet, and what is the communication protocol that they agree upon. All these things are also very important. And because this lessens the hurdles, and the interaction will be much more vigorous if we can have a clear understanding of all these things. And one more important thing is, everyone is important in the team. No hierarchy, no rank should be there. Everyone is important, every idea is important, and every aspect is important. So that is one of the major strengths of design thinking. And documentation style also. Everybody should agree with one particular document style, so that from end to end, the story building is very effective. And they should focus on time sense, one of the major aspects. So all these things they should plan at the beginning of the team building itself. And once they have a very good understanding among themselves, they're going to work much more effectively. Of course, this is applicable to any project in particular. For design thinking, it's going to work in a different way. When it comes to the methods and tools, every stage has its own set of tools that are required. For example, if you take empathy, we need to interact with the people, we need to collect the information from the people. So questionnaires, templates, personal interviews or group interviews are important. And sometimes a guided tour may also be required to look at a particular location which is specific to the problem. And when it comes to the ideation phase, card charts and sticky notes, brainstorming sessions are useful. And the experimentation phase, cardboard models, miniature models, and blueprints are required. And finally, the testing and evaluation phase, you can have the blueprints and reports. So these are all various mechanisms that we can use, and there is no hard and fast rule to use the same thing. You can improvise based on the basic material that you can get through. You can improvise on your own, which suits the requirements. You need not stick to a particular set of any models or methods, but you should have some kind of basic sets, and from that you can improve on based on the problem. And finally, once everything is set, you need to articulate the problem, what it is exactly, what you want to innovate, on which topic you want to innovate, and what are the deliverables from that innovation.